All right, so this is an act of war. So now the trick is the Iranians spend $100, $200 to buy this fake war equipment, blows air into it, and they make it look as if it's a war equipment. And then the USA will have to spend millions of dollars of missiles and drones, all just to hit this toy thing you're watching. So this is the act of war.
فولة عفيفة ماشي وانا جاي احسبك ماشي وحتى بتاع الشاي بنخلع منه طيب بنت دنيا حتى بتاع الشاي بص الواد احنا طالعين تلاقي امك اللي جايبها لك بص بقى يا سعفان احنا طلعنا كده يا جماعه فكوا الكتاب تبقى تصحيني عند الكركه ماشي او لما اطلب تجيب.
This is what's left of a civilian building here in Tel Aviv after a ballistic missile, an Iranian missile, hit it. This was a barrage of about 20 ballistic missiles, all targeting different civilian neighborhoods in Israel. Thankfully, the Israeli population is resilient and is listening to the Home Front Command guidelines. And thankfully, as far as we know now, there are no casualties. But what did happen is that the building behind this one is a home for elderly people, and around 150 elderly people were stranded inside the building waiting for Home Front Command search and rescue forces to come and rescue them and reunite with their families. This is not a normal reality. This is not normal, legitimate targets. This is what the Iranian regime wants. They want to cause destruction. They want to disrupt Israeli lives, but we will prevail. We will rebuild. This building in a matter of a few months will be here standing brand new, because this is what we do here in Israel.
This is how Iran uses hundreds of speedboats to control the Strait of Hormuz. Instead of relying on large warships, Iran uses a different strategy. It sends out many small, fast boats at the same time. These speedboats move quickly, surround ships, and create pressure. They can appear suddenly from hidden bases along the coast and islands, making them hard to track. Experts say this swarm tactic allows Iran to control the area without needing a traditional navy. These boats are not just for show. They can carry weapons, block paths, and send warnings to ships. In recent incidents, Iranian forces have used small gunboats to fire near vessels and force them to turn back, showing how serious the situation has become. On the other side, the United States relies on large and powerful naval ships. These include destroyers, aircraft carriers, and advanced surveillance systems. U.S. ships are heavily armed and designed for long-range control, using drones, radar, and aircraft to monitor and enforce the blockade. This creates a clear contrast. Iran uses speed, numbers, and surprise with small boats, while the United States uses strength, technology, and large warships. One side is fast and unpredictable, the other is powerful and heavily equipped. In simple terms, the Strait of Hormuz has become a place where two very different strategies face each other: small and fast versus big and strong. And that is what makes the situation so tense and difficult to control.
Iran has figured out that we can't beat them. That's what's going on, Stephen. They are figuring out that we can't beat them. We can bomb them. We can attack them. We could even threaten to murder all 92 million of them, which is the civilization threat by President Trump. And the bottom line is that we can't get to that final 10, 20% of drones and missiles. Okay, that Iran has, and it's probably bigger than that we can't knock out. See, we're able to knock out anything that's above ground. If there's a launcher and it's above ground, we can see it. We can see it with satellites. We can see it with other sensors as well. That thing is going to be gone in a few days. And that's what the air campaign that you've watched for 40 days is doing. When Secretary Hegseth or General Kane talk about hitting 11, 12,000 targets, these are targets, almost all of them, that are very clearly visible and above ground. This is true of the Navy ships as well. The Iranians knew that was always going to be vulnerable. So what they've been doing is they have been not just deeply burying their industrial enrichment facilities, they've been deeply burying their arsenals of drones, deeply burying their arsenals of missiles. And so they are in a position where even though we are unleashing enormous amounts of air power against them, and we are technically superior, we can't stop their drone attacks against the ships in the Strait of Hormuz. They know it. They can use that to their advantage, and boy, are they using it to their advantage enormously.
Iran has secretly built vast underground missile cities and fortified bases spread across the country as key strategic assets behind its defense posture. These facilities are buried deep, often up to 500 meters under rock and soil, making them extremely difficult for enemies to detect and strike, even with advanced weapons like bunker buster bombs. According to Iranian authorities, these underground complexes are home to thousands of surface-to-surface and cruise missiles, including medium and long-range types such as Shahab-3, Sedjil, Ghadar-H, and others, capable of striking targets across the Middle East and beyond. These missile cities are designed to protect Iran's arsenal during major conflict, survive intense airstrikes, and ensure that Tehran can launch a sustained defense or retaliation, even if above-ground infrastructure is damaged. Military analysts estimate Iran has around 3,000 missiles that could reach US bases, Israel, and Gulf states, with mobile launchers and silos dispersed in protected tunnels and hardened facilities. Officials say these underground networks could support Iran's war effort for years, storing missiles, drones, command centers, and supplies well below the surface. Some Iranian commanders have claimed the facilities are built to withstand a multi-year conflict. In an era of escalating tensions with the US and Israel, these subterranean missile cities underscore how Tehran plans to deter attacks and maintain strategic firepower from beneath the earth.
This is Tel Aviv in Israel being barraged by Iranian missiles in broad daylight. And the reason why Iran can now do this with impunity is because they employ the strategy that I spoke about yesterday. For the past 3 days since the war started, Iran has been sending its cheapest and most outdated missiles into Israel and towards US bases and the neighboring countries. The intention of these barrages with these cheap missiles and with the multiple re-entry warheads was to drain the Patriot system, THAAD, together with the Iron Dome and David Sling. You see, these systems use very expensive interceptor missiles. And now these interceptor missiles are being used to bring down cheap and sometimes decoy missiles. And now they're running out. And as they run out, then the Iranians are now bringing out the real big stuff to begin to hit their targets with this kind of impunity. Iran learned a lot from the Iraqi war, and they made sure that they would not make the same mistakes. They realized that America comes in to destroy your launchers and your missile systems, so they began to dig their missile systems into mountains where they cannot be bombed. They also made sure that they used the vastness of their country to separate their missile systems so that American jets cannot go throughout the country, destroying them. And now they're taking these missiles out of these bunkers and destroying the enemy.
Iran's deadliest weapon sounds like a lawnmower and costs less than a car. You see, the Shahed 136 is built from foam, powered by a moped engine, and can be fired off a truck on a small rocket. GPS coordinates are set before launch. Then it flies 2,000 kilometers alone. And America fires a $3 million missile to kill a $30,000 drone.
Iran has unveiled a new weapon of deterrence. This, a map of the submarine cable network in the Strait of Hormuz. So who's most worried? You know, the oil tankers in the strait are important, but these glass fibers can also shake the global economy. 7 major international submarine cables carry over 97% of the region's e-commerce, cloud services, and communications traffic, linking the Gulf with Europe, Asia, also with the United States. If they were cut, the impact would go far. The SWIFT cross-border settlement network could be thrown into paralysis, affecting more than 11,000 financial institutions worldwide and trillions of dollars in daily transactions. International transfers, foreign exchange trading, ATMs might stop dispensing cash, cargo ships could lose access to letters of credit, and global logistics would be disrupted. Information flows, supply chains, finance, a lot of things would be affected. In 2024, Houthi forces already demonstrated the risk. When cables were damaged, internet speed dropped across multiple countries. The Strait of Hormuz is even more vulnerable than the Red Sea, shallower waters, and Iran has the capability to cut them off. How about repairing it? Well, in peacetime, fixing a cable can take 3 to 6 months. In wartime, even the US aircraft carriers cannot get close to the strait. So who would dare to carry out repairs? Is there anyone immune from missiles or drones from Iran? The SWIFT is a tool of US financial sanctions, a pillar of dollar dominance, and a channel through which Western capital moves wealth globally, able to cut off transactions at will, as Iran itself has experienced. But here's the irony. The physical backbone of SWIFT relies on fragile fiber optic cables, barely thicker than household pipes, with no real protection at all, just lying right on the seabed near Iran's doorstep. A country like Iran, long under sanctions and now drawing into war. If it simply cut those cables, would you blame them? And if that happened, would the world be forced back to more primitive trade, cash in hand, goods for goods, or even barter? What do you think?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I'm
اگر امروز ما شروع بکنیم هر هفته یه رونمایی از یه شهر موشکی داشته باشیم، هر هفته تا 2 سال دیگه تموم نمیشه.
They took 2 of them hostage, and let's see what Caroline Leavitt had to say. I think many of you are going to be equally as disappointed as I was in this. Let's watch.
No, because these were not U.S. ships. These were not Israeli ships. These were 2 international vessels. And for the American media, who is sort of blowing this out of proportion to discredit the president's facts that he has completely obliterated Iran's conventional navy, these 2 ships were taken by speedy gunboats. Iran has gone from having the most lethal navy in the Middle East to now acting like a bunch of pirates. They don't have control over the strait. This is piracy that we are seeing on.
All right, I'm going to make this as crystal clear as I can here. That is a ridiculous statement from Caroline Leavitt. The gunboats, the speedboats, the small speedboats that carry 2 to 4 missiles each and then machine guns were always a major threat. And we're going to get into that here in a moment about what kind of threat these things play, because guess what, folks? It is worse than you think. For Caroline Leavitt to say they don't control the Strait of Hormuz or that the Strait of Hormuz is open, they attacked 3 ships after we agreed to stop shooting. We haven't done anything other than taking down the secret Chinese cargo. Iran, the fact of the matter is, they have the ability in the Strait of Hormuz, using these small speedboats, which have anti-ship missiles on them, to attack boats. The Strait of Hormuz is still highly, highly contested. Yes, we did blow up their conventional naval ships, but the speedboats were always a problem. And now let's get into a little bit more about that right now. So what you see on your screen right now is satellite images showing 33 speedboats. We have a couple images we're going to get into here. 33 Iranian speedboats that are racing around the Strait of Hormuz, that are guaranteeing that any ship that attempts to pass, that does not pay the Iranian toll, is promptly attacked. Okay, so what you see, these boats are racing through the Strait of Hormuz. They're armed with machine guns. They're armed with anti-ship missiles. Now, we do have capabilities to knock them out. An A-10 Warthog, for example, would feast on these targets, would absolutely feast on these targets. These ships represent an imminent and grave threat to all the ships in the Strait of Hormuz. These are the facts of the matter. For anyone to say the Strait of Hormuz is open right now, 24 hours after 2 ships were taken hostage and another one was bombed and shot up, is crazy. Look at how many ships they have in the water. They don't need a conventional navy to do this. They can do this with the speedboats. The Strait of Hormuz is not a big area. They can chokehold it with this. And furthermore, here's another look at it, saying that in this image you have 20 gunships that are believed to have been traveling the middle of the Strait of Hormuz, laying mines. So they continue to mine the Strait of Hormuz. Remember when they said they were going to remove all the mines, or the political leaders in Iran said that? That is not true whatsoever. They are run right now by the IRGC. The IRGC wants to escalate. So now they're laying further mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Some more reporting on...
The Iranian nuclear submarine is ready for war at any moment. Steel hatches open with a rumble, exposing missile silos. Inside, long-range ballistic missiles ready to strike with deadly precision. Moments later, the silence breaks. The missiles ignite, launching one after another in a thunderous display of force. Some are armed with nuclear warheads, capable of leveling cities from thousands of kilometers away. These nuclear missiles carry unimaginable destructive power, capable of wiping out entire regions and altering the balance of global power. Their range and stealth launch capabilities make them a formidable deterrent and a terrifying weapon. Then, it submerges deep underwater and launches nuclear missiles while beneath the surface. This ability to fire missiles from underwater makes it a deadly and unpredictable force. And when its task is complete, it ascends quietly from the depths, ready to vanish or strike again. This is not just a vessel. It is a floating shadow of power hidden